This Talks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, hour number 2 underway, Wednesday, May 21st, right here on Jocks 94.5. A lot of college football to get to. Nick Saban now has a Sports Emmy, Sports Outstanding Personality, Emerging On-Air Talent, Greg. So Nick Saban could add that list to his list of accomplishments.
Boom.
Got that going for him.
He's got that.
It is also being announced by or reported by The Athletic and the New York Times that Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson are engaged. She has allegedly told one person that. They also reported there that...
Was it Bill?
Not sure.
We're not
sure
we're
if
not
he told
answering
her
that.
either.
We're not answering that question.
Also, they reported that the reason that the HBO Hard Knocks inside the North Carolina football program was canceled was because that she demanded partial ownership. Now, I need more details on this because I'm hoping she demanded partial ownership of HBO, the entire entity.
Yes, that would make
I actually
sense.
give her a lot of credit for that.
You got to ask. Worst they can say is no.
You can't get it if they don't ask for it. So, but yeah, we were talking vehicles, driving stick shifts. Damien, a lot of folks were chiming in via Twitter and via text.
Yeah, we have some people texting in, 205-834-9450. Somebody texted in and says, back in 2012, 2013, my brother bought a manual Honda Fiat without knowing how to drive a stick. He learned in the parking lot. Now he has a manual Civic.
Can you imagine learning? Like you own the vehicle and then you have to go learn? Stalling out. Not fun. Not fun.
People texted in the Dodge Ram Charger.
Yeah, that was it, the Ram Charger, yeah.
And somebody texted in and said, y'all ever just sit and think about the 2016 Alabama defense?
Oh, yeah, Ryan Anderson, 19 tackles for loss. I think Tim Williams said 16, Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster.
I got to be honest with you, I'm not sure I've thought about it recently.
Dalvin Tomlinson, vastly underrated on that defense. Rashawn Evans off the edge. Mika Fitzpatrick. Tony Brown's antics. It was fun. I mean, at least 3 times a week.
Ah, I got you.
Probably more.
Why not? Jonathan Allen, double-digit sacks for that group.
Yeah. They're dominant.
I think Fitzpatrick, 2 touchdowns off interceptions. I think Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Harrison, Eddie Jackson, Ryan Anderson all had pick sixes. All the time. Who doesn't is the real question.
Yes. Agreed.
Jonathan Allen, 2 scoop and score fumble return for touchdowns.
Yeah.
Ronnie Harrison, Tim Williams, Deron Payne all had fumble return touchdowns. That was the not defense, right?
Something like that.
Non-offensive touchdowns?
I was trying to think of what you were talking about. But yes.
Non-offensive touchdowns, almost as annoying as Ryan Williams being 17 years old that year.
No, come
and
on.
The discussion around it.
Stop. That was rock bottom in television.
No, it was not just television. There were some folks in radio that felt like they had to talk about it every day also.
He's 17. Well, now he's 18. So
that's when you know you've done your homework.
I'm not talking about the nods at that time.
Oh.
Some people have to sit around and talk about that.
Somebody texting and says, yes, I sit around and think about the 15-16 defense.
You know it's not basketball, right? He's talking about Alabama basketball, 15, 16 years?
I just read text messages.
We can reference it as 1 year.
Right.
The 15 defense or the 16 defense?
Maybe both.
Hey,
there were some players that
Mo Williams, Colin Sexton. I don't know. Who was it? Herb Jones. Who was on that 15-16 Alabama basketball team that played good defense? I don't recall.
Petty?
That I don't sit around and think about. John Petty did not play defense.
Why?
Spot shooter. Let's go to Ryan in Birmingham who wants to talk stick shifts. Who thought that would be a part of the conversation today? Ryan, welcome in.
Hey, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I got a little hack for you. So anytime you're driving a manual, if you keep your foot on the brake and you slowly let the clutch out, when the car starts to bog down or die a little bit, that's your point of engaging. So you kind of cut off the 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot coming off the clutch. So you can switch from that point straight from the brake to the gas, and you'll get up the hill every time.
Okay, so go through that one more time, so we can follow you here.
Yeah, so if you keep your right foot on the brake, and with your left foot slowly let the clutch out, and once you get to the point where the car starts to bog down or die, that's kind of like your kill switch or your, crucial point of giving it gas. So if you want, you don't have to start with such a long pull off your clutch. You can switch straight to the gas from there.
Do you have to floor it like I used to, or do you just slowly push the gas?
No, only if there's some Krispy Kreme up at the top of that hill. I'll get up that hill real fast, brother.
We'll make that happen too. All right, appreciate the call. There you go. Now you know, folks. Now you know exactly how to make it work. So I was not aware of that. Didn't even know. A lot of folks chiming in on the.
I honestly feel like I'm not great.
But I'm proud of you that you could even accomplish it, that you could do it. Like if you were in a tough situation, you could at least have a chance to get away from the Tyrannosaurus Rex if we were living Jurassic Park right now in that Jeep, which I do think was an automatic, by the way. Was it? Does it stick or an automatic when they were trying to get away? I think people got mad at that. It was an automatic.
Because Jeff Goldblum, he jumped towards the front because the T-Rex was coming at him. And it's like, oh, get off the stick.
Oh, you're right. Golf and Moose tweets in, I grew up in Mountain Brook, humble brag, and had a 5-speed truck.
Oh, God.
My dad made me stop halfway up our driveway, 35% incline at least, and be able to pull up the turnaround wheel spin before I could drive it around town.
I'm being honest.
Heel toe clutch work is a skill. Glad to have it. Yeah, if you're over the mountain driving a stick, you got to be able to work the red light stop signs on hills, or you're in trouble. If you lived at Greg's house, you're
done.
Like some of the driveways around over the mountain, like I don't know how people had stick
Great
shifts.
for snow days, bad for stick shift.
Yes. But I'm just glad that some folks can do it. I'm really proud of Damien. Never thought that he would have said he could even have a chance at it. I thought he would ask what it was.
No. We grew up in the country, man. A bunch of folks had sticks.
I did have one guy tweet in talking about the stick shifts. The Unhipster tweets in, those old Chevy trucks with the column shift were tough. I've only attempted that one time. That's not easy. That did not go well for me. Because I think just having it up by the steering wheel on the column, that was so foreign with the clutch, and then trying to, it didn't go well for me. Did not go well. Philip wants to chime in on stick shifts on hills. Welcome in, Philip.
I was just going to add on to the previous note. UPS drivers, we used to take a driving test in like an old 1960s UPS truck, no power steering, and they'd stop you on a hill right over there on Oxmoor.
Oh.
They'd say, pull the e-brake, and they'd say, now you got to start. If you roll back, you fail. And the whole job was to just go ahead and start it, keep your foot on the clutch, start letting go, keep your right foot on the gas, slowly start to feather it, and once you start to feel the truck move, that's when you let go of the e-brake and put it off, and then you just start go. Okay. So you can avoid your right foot on the brake, just keep it on the gas, and just use the handbrake.
Are all those UPS trucks still stick shifts?
No, none of them are now.
Oh, okay.
New guys actually sign a paper saying I will never drive one.
Really?
Not gonna do
That's amazing. Love that.
Don't blame them. I mean, you imagine how many times you have to stop on hills
dig
and
in.
those things?
Yeah, you got to dig in.
All right, appreciate the call.
I went in. Yeah, have a good one.
That would make my route look very different. I think I would only go downhill.
That's it. And
always
just throw them out the side.
100%. If you live on the uphill side of my route, your stuff might be a little damaged upon arrival.
Kip tweets in, a caller explaining how to feather a clutch is annoying as Jim from Tuscaloosa. I mean, Gary tweets in, the staunch amount of sarcasm towards the 16 Bama defense question. I'm proud of you all. Well done. You tell me you don't sit around and think about it?
Hey, right.
I think the real question here is how many people sit around and think of the 16-17 Alabama defense. I need to know that.
Maybe I've just lost perspective. I just have way too much going on with 6'3" and a 1-year-old and a wife and constant things going on around the house, and to just be sitting there waxing poetic and thinking happily about yesteryear's defense 9 years ago.
Ingram did average 0.9 steals per game for that group. So Braxton Key had 0.6 blocks per game.
Braxton Key.
Donta Hall and Jimmy Taylor both averaged over 1.4 blocks per game. So there was some defense being played there. I just don't sit around and think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we both have our basketball goals from Backyard Adventures, and I'm not out there like, Braxton Key! Trying to block my son's shot.
To do the Braxton Key Matumbo. No, sir.
When my son's out there like, Steph, and I'm like, Dodge a hole!
Braxton Key. Oh, gosh.
No.
It doesn't happen for me.
Colin Sexton.
Swipe. Gotcha. Corbin Collins.
Corbin Collins.
Oh, my
It
gosh.
didn't happen that way. That's not the way it goes. I do feel like I have a little bit of an advantage. I will share this story with you guys. Back in my dumber years, I purchased a deuce and a half.
Come again?
You can Google it right now. Just Google deuce and a half. There was a guy out in Athens, Alabama that had a couple of these lined up on the
Did you have
side.
to use a fake ID to buy it?
Side of the road. Did not.
What?
I'll give you one guess at how much I got it for. And it was a 3-speed and was not easy to get in gear. I'll just say that.
The military truck?
That's it.
A 2.5 ton.
You bought one?
I owned one.
You owned one?
And
What was the gas mileage?
Not good.
A centimeter.
But then when I left, I asked the guy, I said, what does this even take? He goes, man, you put anything in there. He's like, you put water and alcohol in that thing will run. He's like, these things run the desert for years. It'll be fine. He's like, diesel, regular, it don't matter. I was like, okay, if you say so.
All right, now I want one.
I did put the first time I filled it up. I didn't even think about like you don't have to fill up all the way. It got to like 150, 180. I'm like, I gotta stop. This is embarrassing.
We recently acquired some land, and I just don't think the land's complete without a deuce and a half on the.
I think you need one because the best part is the top comes off.
I want this one.
Like it is a convertible basically. It was so much fun to drive. Like you were talking, the thing that made me think about it, Greg, is your buddy's Jeep that only went like 60. I bet this thing didn't go 50.
Under.
And we had it out on the interstate once or twice.
Why did you buy this?
Mine, Chris Coates, because I got it for $1,200. Why would you not?
I mean, I would definitely for $1,200. I would
exactly. Why would you not? The best part is the reason I had to get rid of it.
There's 30 grand now. Oh, that's a Humvee. That's actually a good
the
buy.
original Hummers now. If you can find one of those, you're living right.
That's
Ron
a good
Williams
buy.
has one, and that's who actually I ended up selling this to Ron Williams,
God, I'm
Birmingham
buying
legend.
This.
The
I'm
Hummer?
100% buying this.
The OG Hummer?
This is an absolute bona fide
How
lock.
much?
30.
That's it?
Yes. Look at this thing.
Yeah, that thing's sweet.
It looks like it's painted by a 7-year-old.
It doesn't
looks
matter.
like an art project.
Yeah, those original Hummers are incredible. If you can find one that runs and is put together right. So I lived in the Mayfair district of Huntsville, which was kind of like a lot of young folks, a lot of starter homes. I think my house was like under 2,000 square feet, like 1,700 square feet. It wasn't a big house at all. And I had this thing parked in the driveway.
If that's not on brand, I don't know what is.
And so I think we went about a month with it, and we would ride around. It was, I mean, dude, we just loved just getting out, like Saturday, Sundays, we would just go drive. Why not? And one day I come
Sounds
home.
like a great time.
I had a letter taped to my front door, and it was City of Huntsville, and there was some sort of an ordinance that said there was a weight restriction on vehicles that could be parked at your home in the neighborhood, which was a little bit ass backwards because there was a human.
So your car can't weigh more than your house? That was
probably that. But there was a person down the street from me that had not an RV but a motorhome, and he parked it next to his house.
Mm-hmm.
And so my response to it was, why does this person get to have the motorhome down here? And then there was some rule about motorhome or something or other. So I had to go park it at my buddy's business, and then, you know, if it's not sitting there, you don't drive it anymore. So I just ended up getting rid of it. But yeah, Ron Williams here in Birmingham has it, and also has one of those Hummers, which I want bad. But
this Hummer is extremely aggressive.
But why would you not buy that for $1,200?
You would. That's a lot.
One of the dumber purchases in my life. However,
but not really.
It paid for itself easily because the entertainment value was off the charts.
Cost per use.
I'd come outside and kids would just be climbing on it in the neighborhood. I'm like, just don't fall.
Just don't fall.
Not in my
I'm
garden,
not liable.
at least.
Not liable. Sign the waiver, kid.
And it's pretty sweet.
So sweet, man.
I'm about to say, it's pretty sweet. That's a pretty good buy. I'm kind of proud of you.
Oh, we took that out, and we took it like down a couple of trails, and we thought we were going to get stuck, not because the mud, like because we couldn't maneuver it.
And this thing's 10 grand. That thing's like souped up.
That's like painted, though, and nice.
Yeah, this one's fancy.
Mine was a hunk of junk.
I don't want it
like
to be
the
nice.
best kind of hunk of junk you can imagine. It was so bad.
Is there a radio?
Great. No.
You got to bring it with you?
Absolutely not. You don't want to listen to music riding that thing. You want to smell the fuel and listen to the sound, listen to the roar.
Yeah, the
you
roar.
Want to hear that thing purr.
The roar.
You want to hear all the wood in the back rattle and metal rattle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's got the little wood boards going down the side. People are like, it doesn't have wood. I was like, yeah, it did.
I've gone down
wood benches.
such a rabbit hole.
This is wild.
All
Exotic
right.
car traders.
You
You can buy exotic car trader.
What prices are you seeing on Deuce and a Halfs out there?
There's no Deuce and a Halfs on there, but they took me down the Humvee rabbit hole, and now I'm on tanks. Who doesn't need that?
Has anybody else seen this place out in on the way to Talladega where you can go drive tanks around?
No, but
John,
I'll be there
that?
this weekend. Oh my gosh, look at this Humvee. It's yellow. It's like a beach rider.
No, but I'll be there this weekend.
I'm going. That is a bona fide. This thing's sweet.
Here's the thing. I don't want a Hummer looking like it's being driven in Miami. I want it to look like a Hummer.
It looks like it's like a beach. It's like a beach buggy with teak in the middle.
It does look like a beach. That's the Palm Springs Hummer. I don't want that. I want it. I want the Tallahassee Hummer. I want the Locha Polka Hummer. I want the Greenville Hummer.
You're a mess.
I don't want the Palm Springs Hummer. You can have your Beverly Hills Hummer. I don't want that. It's not what I need. I need one that when a tree's in the road, I can literally just run over it. Nothing's going to happen.
You don't think you could do it with that?
Yeah, but you'd scratch it up, and all of a sudden you rip your leather seats and the whole deal, and oh, it's not nice. I don't want it nice. I want it rugged. I want to run stuff over, run through stuff. So the whole point of having a Hummer. Having a Hummer is not to tool around the streets of Mountain Brook or Palm Springs or Beverly Hills. You want to run over trees.
Yeah, I mean,
if a bear comes at you, you just run over him. You're not worried about it.
That's fair. You have me down a rabbit hole.
Okay. Well,
I love where we're at right now.
Since we've lost you, you can find a way to tell us about Bromberg's.
Well, I can tell you that buying some of these exotic cars is probably not the best use of your funds, but going to Bromberg's, buying a natural diamond, that's about as good as it gets. That's a protected purchase because Bromberg's only sells the best. Those natural diamonds are amazing. They're going to actually increase in value over the course of time, and the experience that you get when walking into Bromberg's and dealing with their outstanding sales staff is second to none. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about the second you walk in the door. It's wedding season. A lot of people are registered at Bromberg's. Highly recommend going over, checking out the registry. If you have a wedding coming up, their gifts that they have available are beautiful. That's where we buy all of our gifts for people that are getting hitched here this summer. Highly recommend going in and checking them out. You're going to buy something that's going to last in your family for multiple generations. You're going to be appreciative of the experience you have along the way. So go and check out Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
All right, when we come back, we will talk expectations for Auburn football right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, three-man front, video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
What should the expectation be for the Auburn football team this upcoming season? That's made a lot of noise the last couple of weeks, last couple of days around sports media discussing the Auburn Tigers. Hugh Freeze last week was on with the War Report, and our guy Mike Giddens had this to say about pressure and expectations this upcoming season.
I honestly don't feel pressure a whole lot, but I'm a realist, and there's no way in the world that anyone can sit in this chair and think that our fans should expect anything more than a leap in year 3. And so if that brings pressure to somebody, or I'm happy with those expectations, that means we've done something to give them excitement and to believe that it can happen. I believe it can happen. And so I don't call it pressure. I just think, man, it's a reasonable expectation. I think reasonable expectations in year 1 were something. I think reasonable expectations in year 2 were something. I don't think we met them. Because of the things we just talked about. Year 3, I think there should be even more expectations. Right. And so I'm good with that and happy to carry that weight, if you call it, along with our other coaches and our players. So
you hear him discuss the pressure, Greg, the expectations that he feels like are there. I think some things that Hugh Freeze has said in the last week or so have been taken out of context. I think he fully understands that the expectation is not just to win 6 games. The expectation is not to go to a decent bowl game. The expectation is to compete with the top of the SEC and win a championship. Is it problematic that Hugh Freeze is not out tooting the horn of we should be competing to win an SEC championship this year? Do fans really expect him to say that? Because then what are they going to say this time next year when that doesn't happen?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I do know that it's kind of refreshing to hear him discuss the expectation, you know what I mean, as opposed to downplaying it. No, we're still building, and, oh, we don't have the roster, and, oh, we're young. Like all the normal things that coaches say in the off season, it's kind of refreshing to actually hear authenticity and acknowledging that, hey, we need to win this year. You know what I mean? I mean, that's rare, I feel like, don't you say?
Absolutely.
And I feel like I almost never hear that.
So also Hugh Freeze discussing why he's not going to put a number on their expectations this season.
Is it 7 wins? Is it 8 wins? Is it 9 wins?
Yeah.
Is it making a bowl game?
Man, I don't ever, I hate to put a win total out there or anything because you have no idea what's going to happen in these games against other really good teams.
But you can't miss a bowl game.
Yeah. We for certainly we should be bowl eligible. Mm-hmm. All right, but you know, hopefully it's more.
Stop there. I mean, I think that's enough where people are taking that and they're running with it, and that's Mike Gittins in the War Report. You can find them on YouTube. That's where we took that audio from. We appreciate Mike always. He does a great job. I don't understand why people are taking that and saying that Hugh Freeze believes that making a bowl, any bowl, only a bowl, is acceptable for him and his team this year. Is that what you took from that?
Kinda. But I also think that that's not necessarily realistic. Do you agree? Like, I feel like certain levels of bowls are a little bit different.
No doubt, but I think what's been taken from that, the context that the general public is taking from this, Greg, is that Hugh Freeze would be satisfied with a 6-win season going to the Meineke Car Care Bowl.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, though. I don't interpret it that way.
Damian, is that what you heard there?
No, I think like at the floor should be them making a bowl game.
John, is that what you heard there?
That's what I heard. What Damian said, that the expectation, certainly the expectations are 6 wins, that we should be in a bowl game. That's where 100%. He believes the expectations are.
But there's a staircase to goals. There's a staircase to expectations, and there are minute goals on each stair on the way to what you want to try to accomplish every year. Like, I don't understand why people are frustrated with Hugh Freeze for not coming out and saying right now, by God, we're a playoff team.
So people are frustrated. I'm having a hard
time
figuring out the frustration.
People are hearing this and saying, why is Hugh Freeze satisfied with just getting to a bowl?
See, like, I don't interpret it that way.
All right, 800-239-9569. There's a lot of people that have.
But the way I interpret it is more along the lines of the absolute. It's more of an acknowledgement of their shortcomings last year than it is an expectation-setting moment for the upcoming season and for the future of Auburn football. Like the fact that we didn't make a bowl game last year was an utter failure is basically an acknowledgement. That's how I interpret that. Like the bare minimum for this program is a bowl game every year. That's the way I hear it.
Okay.
I don't know if you hear it that way.
I don't, but I'm interested why people do, and I'm interested if people feel that it's problematic what he's saying here. Play the second clip one more time, please, John. Just that Hugh Freeze discussing kind of putting a number on the expectations.
Is it 7 wins? Is it 8 wins? Is it 9 wins?
Yeah.
A bowl game?
Man, I don't ever, I hate to put a win total out there or anything because you have no idea what's going to happen in these games against other really good teams.
But you can't miss a bowl game.
Yeah. I mean, we for certainly we should be bowl eligible. Mm-hmm. All right. But, hopefully it's more.
So I feel like a lot of people are taking certain comments from Hugh in the last week or so and painting the picture that if we're bowl eligible, it's all good. And he didn't say that. He hasn't said that. I think that to get to where you're going, you would be bowl eligible. I almost think it's caught him by surprise in having to reference being bowl eligible and that might be what some people look at as a successful season. I don't think there's any part of him that sits there and says, if we're 500 and we're in the Birmingham Bowl, yeehaw. It's not real. I don't think it's real.
I don't hear it that way at all. It was, first of all, it's leading questions. So they're leading questions. And you're never supposed to lead the witness, first and foremost. All right? So it's a poor interview. Secondly, what I would say is the person that's asking the questions is the one that's essentially saying, well, you can't miss a bowl game. And Hugh's acknowledging, yeah, obviously. And that's in reference to last year. It has nothing to do with the upcoming and setting expectations in the future.
And the number game happens a lot. I'll be completely honest. I am asked that question in reference to Auburn, in reference to Florida, in reference to Arkansas the last couple of years, hundreds of times on different platforms and different shows. And I will never do it. I will never put a number on a team's success. I will never say Billy Napier has to win 8. Hugh Freeze has to win 9. Sam Pittman has to win 7. Because there's so many intricacies of how a season can go, how games can look. I think most fans, maybe not fanatics, but fans are intelligent enough and have enough common sense to look at teams that were more talented or just flat better than them, and you were competitive with them and had chances in said games, and it just didn't happen, that's not a complete failure by a coach and by a team. Now, when there's an L next to it, there's a lot of people that are going to not be able to take a single positive thing away from it. But I can look at a 7-6 season. I can look at a 6-6 season. I can look at a team that wins 5 games and say, no, they're heading in the right direction. They're doing the right things. They just need this and this. Or look how much better they got from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. There's a lot to be happy about, and there's a lot of positive there. I can also look at some 8 and 9 win teams and say, yeah, but a lot of people don't want to have that conversation. They don't like that conversation as to how you won, who you won against. I mean, somebody goes up there and throws you 6 interceptions. Yeah, you got them, but at the same time, that was egregious play calling.
Yeah.
That could have been mitigated early on in that game, and it wasn't.
Right. It's a little bit like when Rory McElroy won the Masters. Okay, Rory McElroy won the Masters, and he deserves immense credit, but he about screwed up 17 different times. You know what I mean? Like, you can still win and look awful in the process, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I think that's why when you look at a program, and we say this all the time and people don't want to hear it, because we've had a lot of ridiculousness put into the world of you are what your record says you are. That's not true. Like, a team's quality is not exclusively measured by wins and losses. A team's quality is measured by what their potential is, what they're capable of. Do they hit their ceiling? Do they max out? Because let's be real. Like, if you look at some teams, the expectation levels are different in other places, but there are a lot of teams that should feel really proud of the seasons they have, and they win 4 games. I mean, and I know people say, well, they're bowl eligible, for Akron. If Akron wins 4, that's incredible. You know what I mean? And they might become the best version of themselves and win 2. I mean, that's okay because everybody's a little bit different. But I just don't think it's ever fair to define a team by wins and losses. I've always said that. I think it's a dumb way of evaluating programs because not all schedules are the same, not all circumstances are the same, and not all teams are created equal based exclusively on what their record says they are.
So let's try to best define what would be success for Auburn this upcoming season. What would be acceptable, considered successful for the Auburn football team, football program. Another thing that is not necessarily predictable or the same is weather in the state of Alabama. That's why you need the reliability of a Train, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand right now. Receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Train home comfort systems. Find out more at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. What would you deem as a successful season for the Auburn football team this year? We're not just going to put numbers on it. It's not just going to be record. Is it certain games against opponents that need to be won? Is it improvement in certain areas of the football team? We'll try to put it all together and paint that picture best we can with your help. 800-239-9569. You can text into the show 205-834-9450. Tweet in at Mac and Cube, and we'll finish that conversation next on Jocks 94.5.
The capital of the sports talk nation. This is Jocks 94.5 and JocksFM.com. Birmingham.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy Cubelic in the morning. 800-239-9569. 800-239-WJOX. What should the Auburn fan base expect from the football team this season? What would be acceptable? Now, we're not just going to necessarily try to put a number on this. We're not just going to necessarily look at this from the standpoint of if they have to get to this amount of wins or go to this specific bowl game or anything of that nature. Might not even be specific wins, because I think there are variables to all of this. I think you can move these goalposts a lot of different ways to find things that are going to be deemed as acceptable. 800-239-WJOX. You want to get in on this conversation, you can also text into the show 205-834-9450. Tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. The expectation for Auburn, some of the things that Hugh Freeze has recently said. Royal Payne tweets in, the best example I can think of what Cole is talking about is the LSU South Carolina game last year. It's a great example of that. You have 2 defensive touchdowns called back because of penalties? One, which was an egregious call. I know you don't agree with it because you say by rule he hit the player in the back, which I'm not 100% sure of. But either way, South Carolina did the things necessary to win that game. They just didn't get the calls to allow them to do it. That would be one exactly how I was referencing. Rod tweets in that Hugh Freeze is on record of saying, I'm not a fool. I know we have to go to a bowl game. And he keeps saying it that way. What he means could be another thing. He probably needs to be clearer. If a coach says, I know I need to go to a bowl game, does that mean that they are stating, I need to be 6-6 and get to the Liberty Bowl? Is that what they're saying? Is that the way you interpret that?
No. I think in order to maintain job security, the bare minimum is getting to the bowl game. That's an acknowledgement of fact and a referendum on the 2024 season more than a expectation set for 2025 and beyond. I don't understand why people are struggling with this.
And I'm not excusing everything that Coach Freeze has said. You could go back to the interview with Mike, actually, and there are a couple of things there that I have absolutely zero time for. None had to do with this, by the way. But things that just don't need to be said. Just don't need to be verbalized. Just stop. And just put a period at the end of things before you get to those other things. But this is not one of them. I just think that people are losing sight of the fact that a bowl game, getting bowl eligible, things of that nature, that's all in the pathway of your goals. So you include those things.
Correct.
I mean, it's kind of like in Greg's era and in my era. The SEC championship game was considered somewhat bigger than the playoff or a national championship game or a BCS championship game, because if you didn't go and win that, you could forget the other stuff.
Correct.
You had to get there first.
Correct.
So you probably heard some coaches reference that game that way.
And
people would say, well, we're going to a BCS. Well, if I'm going to Atlanta and beat Florida or Tennessee or whoever it's going to be, then forget it. It's not going to happen.
I'm going to go on and tell everybody a little secret. In 2008, 9, 10, we celebrated the 6th win. In the locker room post game, it was mentioned and acknowledged by Coach.
It's a milestone.
That is the first line in which something has been accomplished that year. Mm-hmm. Now, was it obvious we were going to a bowl game? Obviously. Yeah, and if we didn't get the 6th win by week 6, then something was also strangely up. But that was an acknowledgement post game. Hey guys, postseason bound. Congrats. We celebrated that. It was a big deal. It mattered. So Just because that is the first hurdle you have to clear doesn't mean that's the only hurdle you're aiming for. I don't know.
So what's acceptable for Auburn this year? How do we paint that picture? Obviously improvement, and that's going to come in the form of wins, number one. No doubt about that. It's going to have to be bowl eligible, but not just 6. I'm going to say it too, but I don't mean stopping at 6. I mean 7, 8, 9, get into a pretty good bowl game, a better bowl game. Not that they were in one last year, but that comes with the territory is what I'm saying. So maybe I even say it wrong where people can't get it and understand it. What else will you look at from this season, Greg, that will make Auburn's season satisfactory, or it should for Auburn fans when they're watching their team? Going above 5 and 7 is obvious. That's number one. And I don't think people are going to look at 6 and 6 and say, yeah, we're better. We're going to a bowl this year. That's not, like you said, that's going to be a milestone along the way that needs to be crossed and will probably be celebrated to an extent. I'm not saying that they're going to go roll tumors in extra time, but it's got to get there to get to the other things that you want. So it is in front of you. What are some markers for you for Auburn this season that should be there for people to look at it as a successful year?
I don't love putting numbers on it. I really don't.
I'm not asking you to. I said it. We're not going to do that.
My biggest thing for Auburn this year is quit gift wrapping games and giving them away. Like, stop. Like, I'm fine if you lose to Bama. I'm fine if you lose to Georgia. And frankly, I'm fine if you lose a couple others. But the ones you're supposed to win, win. That's progress. Because when was the last time Auburn took care of business against teams they should beat? For an entire season.
Oh, for an entire season? That's
an entire season. I'm talking like they actually beat all the teams on their schedule that they were favored against.
2010?
Maybe.
Yeah.
2013? Perhaps.
Yeah, because you didn't have carry on in the SEC championship game, so
they were.
I don't know. 17. I'm thinking 17.
I don't think they were favored in that game.
I was going to say 17.
But beside the point, like when was the last time Auburn?
Still, you had LSU on the ropes in 17 and didn't do it. So
when was the last time they won all the games that they were supposed to win in a season? Seriously, I mean, I don't recall the last time that happened because last year, let's be real. Last year, let's go through it, and I know we don't need to revisit this, but you lose to Cal, have no business losing to Cal. You lose to Arkansas because you're still panicked about what transpired against Cal. You gift wrap the game and give it to Oklahoma. You can't lose 3 games at home. You just can't do it. Like, that cannot happen under any circumstances. I'm fine if you lose at Georgia. I'm fine if you lose at Missouri. I'm fine if you lose at Bama.
But they had Missouri. They had a, 14-point lead in the fourth quarter?
I can live with those losses. What I can't live with is losing to a team that you should beat by double digits. That can't happen. I'm fine if you lose to Penn State the previous year. I'm fine if you lose at Georgia. I'm fine if you lose at Ole Miss. You can't lose and give up 40 in the process to Arkansas in 2022. You just can't. That cannot happen. Because the thing that irritates me about Auburn, at least these last 5, 6, 7 years, it's like you'll have those games where you beat A&M, a good A&M team with Robbie Ashford throwing for 60 yards, and then you get your doors blown off and get 50 hung on you by Bama the following week. Like, what the heck is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the ebbs and flows in performance is just very, very frustrating.
So you would maybe say, not all of it, but portion of it would be game management and how games are handled. But that's not all. I think people hear that and they think that's play calling and situational play calling, but some of that is also knowing when to protect the football, knowing when to hand the football off, knowing when to maybe back off coverage a little bit, things of that nature.
So if we're going to go through
it's not all going for it on fourth down or punt field goal decision.
No. If we're going to go through their schedule this year, like if we're really going to go through it, like ideal scenario, well, ideal, not necessarily. Ideal's winning the SEC, making the playoff. That's ideal scenario, perfect situation. But I think a tremendous sign of growth in this program would be beating Baylor on the road, starting 3-0 by beating Ball State and South Alabama, and leaving no doubt in those games, too, would be a kind of refreshing because when was the last time I feel like Auburn played against a team like South, who's pretty decent, and beat them by 50? You know, it might have been year one of the Brian Harsin era, I feel like, when they didn't kind of ebb and flow to the level of their competition. If you lose at Oklahoma, I can live with that. You can lose at A&M, I can live with that. You can lose to Georgia, I can live with that. But you got to win at home against Kentucky. You got to win at home against Missouri. You know, you got to go and beat Vanderbilt on the road. Like, you got to do these things. And that, to me, is progress. If they're 8-4, great, but they better have beaten the 8 teams that they're supposed to beat. And if they pick one off that they're not supposed to win, that's bonus.
You need to see more performances like they had against Kentucky last year. That doesn't need to be a one-off.
Correct. Right. Yes.
Where there's no doubt that you're the more dominant team, and you essentially do what you want in that game. And part of that is because of the plan you put in place, and part of that's because you have better players and you're a better team. That needs to happen more often. And the reality right now is that probably can't happen against Georgia. That probably can't happen against Oklahoma. There's a great chance that won't happen against A&M. Missouri, Vanderbilt, it'll be a little bit tougher. I don't have high expectations really for Kentucky this year, so maybe it happens against them again. But I think you're heading down the right path. Damien, what did Greg not say that maybe for you would stick out as to this needs to take place for Auburn to have a successful football season?
No, I think he hit the nail right on the head. And just the way, like you said, you have to leave no doubt against teams that you're better than. And also, like you said, game management, not turning the ball over and things like that. So I agree with everything Greg said.
The thing about Auburn this year that will be frustrating. Watch. This is what will happen. They'll lose to Baylor. I'm just saying this is like typical. Will they lose to Baylor? Maybe not. All right. They'll lose at A&M and they'll beat Georgia. They'll lose at Arkansas and then, beat Missouri. It's just like I feel like that's kind of been the MO. Like, they'll pull a spoiler. Like, last year beating A&M was amazing. That was a great performance. And then you lose to Vandy. You know what I mean? It's like, I hope that doesn't happen this year, but that's kind of been par for the course.
I do kind of see where you're going. Joel tweets in the show, Cole, Coach Freeze has been around long enough to know, quote, bowl eligible today with 43 bowls is a joke. He's smarter than that.
When asked specifically about bowl games.
However, I am smart enough to hear his answers and know that he doesn't mean, by God, if we just get to 6, everything will be right in the world. I'm smart enough to know that's not what he meant. But everybody else can take that from it if they want. And everybody else can think that that's the smart way to interpret what he said there. I don't think that's what he meant. 800-239-9569. We'll continue this conversation on the other side right here on Jocks 94.5.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, Remand Front, video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We'll take your calls here in a moment. 800-239-9569. Talking Auburn expectations this upcoming season. First, Greg, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, Polar Bear Services is amazing. They're actually en route to my house right now. They've done so many things for me around the home. I've always been very grateful to the experience I've had when working with Weston and the guys at Polar Bear Services. They've added plumbing. That's what they're actually helping me out with at my home. They've always been great from an electrical standpoint. They can do small appliance repair. They just do everything. That's what I appreciate so much about using Polar Bear Services. They also are the specialists when it comes to the HVAC system. You want to make sure you get out in front of the hot weather months that are coming, the hot days that are coming. Your HVAC system could go on the blink at a moment's notice, so make sure you get a system checkup from Polar Bear Services. Go and check them out today. And remember, if you have a problem with plumbing, electrical, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
All right, we'll continue talking expectations for Auburn, what they should be this upcoming season. Trying not to necessarily put a number on it, yet Maryland tweets in 8 wins at least. Okay, so 8 wins minimum right there. So, some folks are going to put it at a number. Some folks are going to say, you got to get Georgia or Bama. Is that fair to say that?
I think it is.
Rich wants to chime in on Auburn's season and what would make it successful. Welcome into the show, Rich.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Y'all were talking about this. Excuse me, I apologize. And I had to call in. Obviously, y'all said not necessarily put a number on us. I'm going to put a number on. I'm going to say 8 to 9 wins, or next year he should be told he's on the hot seat. I think when you look at, let's not even look at the fan base perspective. Let's look at the alumni base perspective, the ones that are paying money for these players. Do you think they're going to keep paying money for these players and getting them what he needs with poor or less than expectations? I don't think they are. I think at some point they're going to stop giving money to get these players in if he can't even win with what he's got.
So you're saying it should be 8 or 9?
I think to keep his job, I think it should be 8 or 9, and he's going to have to beat. He's going to have at least, I would say, minimum 8, and he's going to have to at least beat one of the rivals. I think Auburn fans are sick and tired of continuously losing to Alabama, Georgia, LSU constantly.
Well, LSU not on the schedule, so it's.
Well, okay, Georgia and
Harsin
Alabama.
beat LSU.
Get him out of
Y'all
here.
ran
Did he
him.
score more in the second half, though?
That's more than Freeze has done. I mean, you can say what you want, but that's the truth.
Rich, I'm going to ask you a serious question right now.
Sure. 100%.
And this is one that I've thought of. Does he have to beat Vanderbilt this year?
If he didn't beat Vanderbilt, I think he's cooked.
I don't think it's a joke. I mean,
No.
To me, that's one
not.
that I look at as an Auburn fan, as an Auburn alum, as an Auburn letterman, saying, I think you need to get that game. And that's not the Rick Trickett theory. Thanks for calling in, Rich. I appreciate your time. It's not the Rick Trickett theory where we walk to the whiteboard and we say, here's what we're going to do for this game. Y'all's Auburn, and he writes it on one side of the board, and then he writes Vanderbilt on the other side, and this is Vanderbilt. You ought to beat them. That's it. That's what it is. I'm not even saying it because of that. I'm saying it because of how it's gone the last couple of years. And that includes kind of the hybrid Vanderbilt, which was New Mexico State. Am I crazy for saying that way?
I don't think so.
Huh?
And I don't even mean it as far as the historical prominence of the two programs. I just mean what that group has done to that staff in recent memory, It needs to change. That needs to go the other way. And it's on the road late in the year. But we'll go through the schedule in our next hour. But first, Bruce Feldman's going to be with us to talk top 25 players of the 2000s. His article up now. We'll get his thoughts next.
This is McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.